Hey Cougars, welcome to Business 110. This is Mr. Franklin here, and in this video we're going to try to start laying the groundwork for investing in our discussion that's going to happen all semester about this topic. It can be very complicated, so let's dive into it. So investing, the bottom line is when you invest, you're going to give money to a business in exchange for ownership of that company. That's honestly the bare bones basics of what investing is all about. If and when that business grows, because that's what, if you're a business owner and you get money from someone, you want to use that to grow your business. So either the business is going to grow and or increase in value. So something might be worth more. Okay. And we could talk more about that later. You can either then sell your ownership for more money because it has more value, or you can get paid profits from the company. So either one is a win. Okay. So that's what we want. Now, if you own a company, the company goes out of business, well, then that's when you can lose. That's the risk of investing. So we're going to come back to that probably more towards the end. So we're going to focus mostly on what you can get out of it. And then at the end, we'll come back and talk about the risks of it. Okay. So just keep in mind that we're doing this for educational purposes. This is to help us grow and learn as much as we can. This is a very complicated and deep topic, and make sure that if you are actually going to be investing, that you do your research, and that if you need help, there are financial advisors and people who are experts in this who can help you out, that kind of a thing. Okay, so here we go. Continuing on. So investing, there's multiple, we're only going to do some bare basics today. So there's different ways to invest. The bottom line, most basic way is called buying a stock. And a stock is how we talk about ownership of a company. And when we talk about stock, we actually usually are referring to the shares, and shares are basically when a company offers stock, it breaks itself up into little pieces. And so, for example, I have a company and I'm going to offer 2,000 shares. So I'm going to divide my company into 2,000 pieces, and I'm going to sell you a piece, and I'm going to sell you a piece, and take that money from the sale of the pieces of my company to help grow the business. Okay, so that's the basics. We'll get into it more from a business owner standpoint later. So a mutual fund is a company that, or is a fund, not necessarily a company, but a company pools multiple investors' money to buy a lot of different stocks, buy a lot of different shares from different companies. And so basically you pull your money together, and then you also buy a bunch of resources and you pool those resources. So when you buy a fund, you're basically buying ownership of that fund, but the fund might actually own multiple shares of stock. And it's a little technical and complicated, but you own like however much percentage you own of that fund. That's how much of those stocks you own, and that kind of a thing. Okay, so the good news is basically you put in money and it's spread out among companies invested. In other words, you're going to reduce your risk if a company does fail or something like that happens. So you're spreading out your investment over a large amount. Okay, so another type of investment, it's a mutual fund, but it's a Roth IRA. And this is where you're going to get a paycheck and you're going to pay income tax like normal. Okay. In other words, and how people talk about it is you pay taxes on the money you put in, but when you take money out, you don't pay taxes on the money you take out. In other words, your income tax that you pay for just getting paid for your work isn't going to change. Okay. But when you get to be 65 years old and you're going to now take money out, then you don't have to pay taxes on that because you already paid them. Okay, the other kind of mutual fund that's for retirement is one where you actually lower your income tax, because however much you put into the investment reduces how much tax you have to pay, because you don't pay taxes on the money you put in. But as that money grows, which we'll look at in a second, you have to pay taxes on the money you take out. So any tax break is better than no tax break, but the Roth IRA is 1,000 times better than a regular mutual fund, okay? Or an IRA mutual fund, which is better than a regular mutual fund. So you could have all three of those actually. Okay, some continued. Another one is a 401k. Now, the beauty of a 401k is it's generally an employer managed fund. Okay, so your employer signs up for this. And what they do is they want you to put in money and then they will match however much money you make. And the beauty of this is usually that money that they put in is not money they would give you anyway. Okay, so if you put in $100, they're going to put in $100. Well, that $100 they put in would not go to your pocket if you didn't put in money. That makes sense. So in other words, you're getting paid extra. Okay. It can also be a tax deduction on your income. So it can actually reduce your tax when you put money in. Okay. 403B is another type of investment, retirement, and it's usually for government. If you're a government employee, like a school employee or something like that. Depends on the state you're in, depends on a lot of things, because yeah, it can get complicated. So those are just some basics to give you kind of an idea of some things to think about and look at. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to go to a calculator and just look at the power of what investing can do. And then we're going to see what investing can do, what it means, what it can mean for you financially. And then we're going to come back and talk about risk. And then we'll see about actually how do we start? How do we get into this? Okay, so